pressure, but thanks for joining us. And as explained before we got to recording, I want you to maybe just tell us about yourself and sort of what you do and what you like and so forth. So it's up to you. I'm not going to tell you in detail what we say.
Okay, thanks for having me. Firstly, Nico. Firstly, thank you very much, everyone. My name is Theolan Govender. I work for AFRISAM South Africa. Just a bit about my background. I have a BTech degree in electrical engineering. I have a postgrad diploma in business management. I've completed my master's in business administration, and I'm currently busy with my doctorate application. I'm also, from a membership point of view, I'm a professional engineering technologist registered with the Engineering Council of South Africa. I'm a member of the Institute of Directors South Africa, and I currently run the engineering committee as the chairperson for ASPASA. My experience is through all facets of engineering and ranges through around 18 years, where I've developed myself through the internship from the South African breweries, and now through AFRISAM, formerly known as Wholesome, as a building supervisor to a project engineer, and up to various engineering manager posts, and now residing as National Engineering Manager for construction materials, running the aggregates and ready mix division.
Great. You're the right person to speak to. Maybe just share with us some of the issues that you see as challenges in your business and in your profession.
Yeah. So firstly, me just in my organization, I play both. Fortunately, I have the opportunity to play both strategic and operational engineering roles. So I actually come up with strategy and I implement it on the ground with my relevant teams and myself. I'm responsible for setting strategy, standards, and guidelines for operational maintenance, engineering functions, and contracting. Asset care management, responsible for CM CapEx and major maintenance portfolios through the entire project lifecycle. I'm also responsible for plant process development, optimization, and monitoring, and the development of engineers and engineers in training to ensure that they achieve their professional statuses. Now, to answer your question, Nico, in some of the challenges that I see from as an engineering aspect in our industry, the first I'd like to look at is the attracting, developing, and retaining of aspiring engineering professionals. That's a big challenge for us. The second is the lack of coaching and mentoring in the industry. It's where we require the passion, resources, and time, structures, and programs to be in place. Thirdly is a lack of structured formal skills development training aligned to industry requirement, our industry requirement. The fourth is the focus on intrinsic retention factors. In this, I mean, where the companies need to have structured key performance indicators, personal development plans, cross-function duties, rewards, and recognitions aligned to the organizational objectives. And on the fifth note, it will basically be the identification and retention of talent in the organization. Now, this is where I see a big area of improvement that we can associate to our industry, where do we understand what talent and talent management is? Do we understand what TM philosophy, framework, model, strategy, and processes are, and how they interrelate? Do we understand that TM is all about stakeholders' responsibilities, and there's a dependent relationship between the leadership, talent that are affected, the line management, HR, and finally, do we understand the relationship between talent management and psychological contract, as well as organizational culture? And just lastly on this topic, and just to sum this up, I was reading PPS Graduate Professional Index, the latest survey that was out. Much of our engineering skills have been lost into movement to international countries. The contraction of the construction industry has caused a decline in the commitment of the skilled engineering professionals to pursue a career in South Africa. So there's much changes and things that we need to do internally, starting from an industry or company perspective, then to an industry perspective, that we can lay the benchmark for the rest of our future professionals coming up. Also, an expat web report has published the results for the 2020 Critical Skills Survey. And this basically shows which skills employees find it most difficult to recruit locally. And what the respondents had to say, that some of the most difficult to recruit is engineers at 21% and artisans at 16%. So surely those are some of the challenges that we, within our industry can take up, Nico.
That's very good. I also read some of those reports. Yes, it's quite scary. Maybe just share with us then some of the positive stuff that you see from where you sit. That would be very helpful.
Okay. Okay, so some of our industry operations, or most of them, are well maintained, efficient, and equipment are operated at world-class standards, I believe, even though we are running with aging infrastructure. So there is definitely a form of engineering and maintenance that we are doing a fabulous job on. And we need to obviously bring that out, cross-pollinate and make sure that we build on what we currently have. The second is the construction industry has talented, aspiring engineers, professional engineers, government certificated engineers, and consultants that have done excellent work over the years. Right, this must be acknowledged and celebrated on an ongoing basis for our industry. Thirdly, most organizations are beginning to focus on their talent. The alignment of strategy to incorporate TM policy is critical. Thereof, development of a bespoke and cost-effective TM framework that empower employees to enable organizational performance is needed. And lastly, it's where we sit, I think coronavirus obviously exacerbated the effect for the construction industry, but having an optimistic view of the market, be resilient and bold to make calculated decisions. Note, there are companies that are doing well under the current economic conditions.
That's a mouthful, yes. I think you've raised some very, very important issues and you've well covered them. Maybe the last one, before we sort of tie this short interview up, is your view about industry bodies and industry working together and resolving problems, and maybe if you want to, just touching on ASPASA.
Yeah, I think it's very important, maybe just start off my views with the ASPASA, is that the introduction of the engineering committee has given our sector a voice for standardizing and improving on engineering and maintenance practices and activities at our operations. It also assists in cross-pollinating technical discussions to improve industry learnings and relevant stakeholders, including consultants and suppliers. ASPASA, as we know, is currently pending enrollment with EXA as a voluntary association to pave the way to increase the numbers of registered professional engineers in the construction industry, promoting better skills transfer, upholding of correct standards, and ultimately better quality projects delivered to this country. Thank you, Nico. And then just maybe in general on my last statement, and I thought it's very important from our view that when we look where we're going and where the companies are heading, in 2019, I think it was SA's economy grew about 0.2%, right? Now, during the pandemic, after the second quarter, the GDP reduced by about 16%, right? And the annualized growth rate was minus 51%, of which the construction industry reduced by 76%. And that's from Stats South Africa. Further exacerbated on that is the unemployment rate. If we look at it from quarter 1, 2020, it was sitting around 39.7%. And then quarter 2 went to around 42%. And then Q3 went to about 40, just over 43%. And that's the expanded definition. What they mean is that people who are also not looking for work. Obviously, there was no work, hardly any work at that time. So you have to include them in that stats. Now, South Africa's construction industry is forecasted to contract by just over 14% in 2020. I mean, that final stats would be out very soon. What I'm trying to say is, with the organizations now, there's a lot of companies that folded in the construction industry. They've others are downsizing, as some of the main strategies to differentiate themselves or weather the storm. And one of the main things that comes through is that with the little people that are left behind, it's very important that this talent, we call it an inclusive culture, where people that want to be developed, that we develop them and we make sure that, what studies show, it's academia studies that show that there's a positive correlation between development and organizational performance. And that is something that we need to incorporate as part of, the workforce that we have to exacerbate organizational performance to a point where we can get the construction industry back on its feet. And we can only do that to grow. There's so much that you can cut, but we have to grow. We have to be optimistic, and we've got to take calculated risks at certain areas. Thank you, Nico.
Thanks, Theolan. That was great. You sent me a document. I'm going to set up a meeting where what you basically touched on now, we're going to expand on that. I want a specific meeting for that. So I will be contacting you in due course. Thanks for your support and for your positiveness and for your professionalism in our industry and for ASPASA. And I trust that this year will be a good year for you and that you will develop more things. And yes, go well and all of the best for 2021.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Nico, and thank you for the opportunity. Cheers.
Pleasure. Thanks, Bye.
Bye.